Welcome to Raptors Weekly for the week of August 10th. William Liu joins the Rapcast to help us get through the summer. Hey, man.
Hey, it's a long summer.
Long summer. Nothing much to talk about. We're going to create shit to talk about, though. That's how we do here.
I heard the last one. That was painful with you and Andrew.
Oh, come on. It wasn't that bad. It was
pretty bad.
We filled up some Blue Jays talk. How are they, by the way? The Jays, I believe, took control of the wild card today because the Angels lost.
Yes, but more importantly, they swept the Yankees.
Yeah, which is so. So what's the division lead right now?
1.5.
Yeah,
the Yankees got.
That's catchable. That's definitely catchable.
Very doable.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you had to pick, Will, like one non-Raptor Toronto team, like if you had to pick one to win the championship, would it be the Leafs or the Jays?
Oh, the Jays for sure.
Yeah.
The Leafs. I could care less about the Leafs.
But the city would probably celebrate more if the Leafs won it.
Yeah, but it's like a part of the city that I don't really identify with, and like, I don't know. That's fine. It's just a bunch of like 50 and 6-year-olds there and celebrated the Leafs win. But I think everyone likes the Jays, so.
Yeah. All right, let's move on swiftly to some Raptor talk. We actually have a bunch of things to get to, man. Nothing too groundbreaking, but certainly topics of discussion nonetheless. And let's start with JV. He's been in the news via Grantland. I think Zach Lowe again made a comment that JV is certain to ask for the max contract this or next summer, or maybe even this summer. He's going to demand the max, and a lot of people kind of split on this one. Our own Kian Sawani wrote an article about how JV might get the max without necessarily deserving it. What did you make of just the article and the general perception that JV might not be deserving of the max?
I don't think deserve really has too much to do with it.
That's a line from The Wire, by the way, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, deserve's got nothing to do with it.
Yeah. All right, go ahead.
Money's got no owners, just spenders. That too.
All right.
Yeah, look, it's just the market. Like, every team in the NBA basically is going to have maximum cap space next year because the salary cap is going to jump like $20 million in one go. And if you look at the free agency market, there aren't that many great options out there, especially not 7-foot centers who are efficient around the basket, can reasonably protect the hoop, although he's kind of slow. So, yeah, I mean, JV's not worth the contract, but he's going to be, 24 next year when he hits the market. Like, that, he's going to get the max, whether the Raptors will give it to him or not. So, I mean, yeah, I guess you would want JV to be more accomplished to get the max, but realistically, that's just going to be his price. And I think that's what Zach Lowe was trying to say in the article he wrote for Grantland. It's just that, for players like this coming off the rookie scale deals, like, they're going to get paid a ton, and it's not entirely tied to what their production is. It's tied to the market itself.
Yeah, and the one point that Zach made was the benefits of extending him now versus then. Like, if you give him a max right now for $21 million or whatever it is, we basically enter next year's summer free agency period with a $21 million tied up. But if we actually defer that decision to next summer, his cap hold is only $11 million. So that's $10 million saved for other free agents potentially. Then you could use the bird to sign JV. But that was a salient point because I hadn't really thought of that one, and that certainly has to weigh on Ujiri's mind a little bit, especially with the Kevin Durant free agency coming up. Not that saying we have a chance, but hey, he's out there.
Yeah, I mean, he's out there, but he might also not be out there because Durant could sign like a 1-year deal and then opt to go into free agency in the following summer when the salary cap jumps to $108 million. That actually makes more sense for him.
Yeah.
Right? So, but I mean, yeah, like what you're saying is right. Like, I think in order for the Raptors to maintain full flexibility, there's not too much incentive for them to sign JV to the max this summer, especially because if you're going to sign him to the max anyway, you might as well see what he can command in restricted free agency and then match.
Yeah.
And I don't know, who knows? Maybe next season his production, like, he takes a huge leap forward, and then he's definitively worth the max. Then I think you're very happy paying the max. Or if, I don't know. I mean, I don't want it to happen, but if something like he gets injured or something, his price comes down. There's just really not too much advantage to jumping the gun and extending him this summer, especially considering the cap hold stuff. So, Yeah, you might as well go in the next summer. Let him be a restricted free agent. Let him test the market, see what he gets. He'll probably get the max, and then at that point, it's just do you match or not. So.
If the cap goes up next summer, again, it'll like is he going to count at a higher number against the cap?
No, it's the same. So it's his extension will be based on next year's salary cap, which will be 90 mil. Or if he signs it like the following summer, I think he'll still be 90 mil. So I don't think there's any savings associated with. But I could be wrong about that. And if JV's if he enters restricted free agency with the market at $108 million for the salary cap, then maybe there will be savings. But I think if the money is at $108 million, I don't think JV will necessarily get the max. That's like 20% of that is kind of crazy.
Yeah. So there's some Kevin Durant. So that's a JV talk. There's also some Kevin Durant was in town for OVO, Drake's thing, and he was pictured with DeMar DeRozan, and a picture was snapped, and there's always the Kevin Durant to Toronto rumor, kind of in the background, but this kind of brought it up to the surface. I know it's just a picture, man, but fans got to stop with this, man. They got to stop with this. Like, they see one picture and suddenly it's like, is he recruiting him and all that? No, man, he's just enjoying a concert. And just ease off on that.
Although, did you see him? He got that David Price jersey on like very quickly. I think Price was traded like to Toronto the day before that. Durant already got that. So
I think he picked it up at the Sky Dome when he was there. I think that's what happened. Yeah, it's not like he went in wearing it. I think maybe he just picked it up at the Dome.
If that's the case, it's a savvy move.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a pretty good weekend. It's been a pretty good couple of weeks for Toronto. I mean, you guys already talked about the Drake Meek Mill diss and stuff and that, but
what do you stand on the Drake Meek Mill diss? I didn't get your take on it.
Oh, okay. I mean, look, Meek Mill started something. It seemed really stupid, and he didn't plan it out. Had he planned it out, had he had evidence that Drake, had ghostwriters and stuff like that, then yeah, sure, maybe do that. Maybe plan a diss track in advance. Don't just go on Twitter and be like, I can't believe you didn't tweet my album. By the way, you don't write your own raps. And then Drake drops 2 diss tracks, and then he still has nothing. Yeah. And then he comes out with this terrible diss track.
I like when he came out with this diss track, Norm Kelly, the Toronto City Councilor, goes, that's why you hire ghostwriters.
Yeah, Norm is also... Norm might be Drake's ghostwriter.
Yeah. That was fun. I think Norm actually owns Twitter at this point. He's a huge hit in a lot of community. Very popular. And give him a follow. Twitter handle @Norm, which is... I don't know how he got that one, but he did.
Got on that shit early.
Yeah, or maybe he paid someone. I don't know. Something. What else is going on? Lowry losing weight. That's right. So this picture came up of him going out with a run, and somebody snapped a pic and posted on Instagram. And man, that is a transformative makeover by Kyle Lowry. He looks much skinnier and fitter for the first time in years. Like he actually has like an hourglass figure, if you will, for a man.
He really does.
He does, you know what I mean? And there was a funny thing because JJ Redick was checking out the post, and he couldn't believe it was Kyle Lowry. He had to do like a triple take to figure out that was Lowry. Because if you haven't seen the picture, it's on Raptors Republic. Man, like we always talk about players going in and losing weight and getting stronger, but this is like some next level shit, Will. He looks a different person.
Yeah, he is slimmed down everywhere. I mean, like, Lowry kind of caught a lot of flack last season from the fan base about how he was supposedly fat and out of shape. I don't think that's the case. I mean, Lowry's build is just more, I don't want to say rotund, but, like, he's a solidly built guy. But right now, like, based on the picture, he is, like, absolutely shredded. The funniest part about the picture to me, I find, is that, like, he still got those, like, that ridiculously large hip ass thing going, that he uses to great advantage on the low block and stuff. Yeah. So right now he's got like this ridiculous hip to waist ratio, and
he basically has a seat for the defender now. Like it's he's carved himself in a way where a defender can actually like relax and take a seat on his hip, and he'll be all right.
Yeah. So I mean it's a good sign. I mean you always hear about players talking about losing weight, so when you actually see it in progress and stuff right now, like, this is great. I mean, I don't know. At this rate, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen when the season starts.
Yeah, it should also help his injury situation because, the less weight you're carrying around, chances are, you're not putting that much stress on your joints and all that. So that should help too. I think he realizes like what happened last year. Like he played too much. He wasn't in the greatest of shape. Still not unhealthily fat or anything like that, but he just wasn't. He could be in better shape, and he took that. He saw the playoff exit, and he's certainly taken some measures to rectify his physical standing. So looking forward to that, man.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want.
That actually got me excited a little bit.
Yeah, plus he had like the back injury and stuff, So I mean, look, fully healthy Kyle Lowry is absolutely the key to the Raptors. I mean, we could talk all we want about signing DeMar and Corey Joseph and all the Bismack Biyombo and stuff, but the Raptors were basically only very, very good when Kyle Lowry was very, very good.
Yeah, healthy Kyle Lowry is a first team All Star in the East.
Yeah. Like when he started the All Star game last year, I mean, a lot of that was what the Raptors MLSE and Matt Devlin singing, "Oh, that's a hashtag NBA ballot player right there." But I mean, Lowry really did deserve it, and so he kind of like fell off after the new year, basically.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of that was injury related. So hopefully, if you can stay in peak form and avoid that. My only thing with this is that, like, Lowry takes a lot of contact. So I mean, sometimes the weight is good for him. You can soften those blows a little bit.
Yeah.
Like he's led the league in charges taken both the last 2 seasons, and obviously he draws a lot of contact when he drives, and he's a bit reckless. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe losing a bit of that weight cuts down this effectiveness a little bit, but I'm just spitballing.
Yeah, and I see the other half of our All-Star trio, DeMar DeRozan. I mean, last week we talked about with Andrew, like had he seen the Drew League, and since then I actually looked at some Drew League highlights, and he is taking a lot of threes. But the thing is that they're all pretty much uncontested. He's just pulling up and jacking a shot, and I guess that's good that he's making a bunch of them. But really, I mean, at first I was a little excited that he's making a lot of threes, but then I'm looking at the defense there. I'm like, there's nobody within 4 feet of him. Maybe towards the end of the game, if the game is tight, a little bit more defense is played. But other than that, the Drew League is just it's essentially Vince Carter's All-Star Classic in Toronto. That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, we get excited when we see stat lines come out of the Drew League for DeRozan, like, oh, he posted like 39, 10, and 8 or whatever. That's what Swanky P does like every game.
Yeah.
So, like it's a game built for sort of like a more street ball mentality and stuff. And yeah, if you want to just pull up, no one really contests. The only time there's like stringent defense is like a guy really challenges another guy and tries to cross him up, and then he gets really engaged. But hey, I mean, at least he's working on it. I don't know. I think every year we hope DeRozan comes back with a 3-pointer. So at this point, I've sort of stopped hoping for it. But if he does it, it'd be great because that's the biggest part of the game that he's missing right now. It's an offensive player.
I think that's what any NBA player does at a non-NBA tournament. Like sometimes we forget just what the level of difference in quality is between an NBA player and somebody who's just like off the street or in college or in D League. It's a gulf there. So when you put this guy in that situation, he's so much better than anybody out there. That's the basic thing he could do is go 35-5. Like that's something that comes like out of the box. And when we see a stat line like that, you always got to kind of, just scale it down a little bit for effect.
Oh, for sure.
Moving on, so some more comments this week from Patrick Patterson. He was asked about the starting gig with the power forward, and he goes, "It's mine to lose," which really shouldn't be even a topic of discussion because it's so obvious that he is our, first choice power forward. It's only that Dwayne Casey's comments a few weeks ago where he said that Patterson's still kind of better off the bench is that we're even talking about this. And like, is there any scenario or situation where you see that Patrick Patterson is more suited to come off the bench? And not necessarily that he's not a good bench player. He's obviously good. It's just that what that implies in terms of Luis Scola or someone like that starting. Because once you start Luis Scola or even Biyombo for that matter, did I just say Biyombo?
There's no way you can start Biyombo.
So let's say Luis Scola starts with JV. I mean, that's like your style of basketball already becomes so anti what you're trying to do in the offseason that it just doesn't compute at any level.
Yeah. I think the only argument really to be made with Patterson coming off the bench is like the bench could kind of use the help offensively. But I mean, like, realistically, like, you could just avoid that problem by staggering minutes, like, you don't have to play all bench units, which Casey was kind of fond of last year. Like, the number of times he would just play Lou Williams, Gravis, with James Johnson, Patrick Patterson, and Hansbrough was like I think that was like the second most played unit, which is it's just not a great strategy to employ. Like you might as well just stagger the minutes. Patrick Patterson is like for sure the best power forward on this team. I mean, I know Scola had a nice season last year, but the guy's 35. He can barely jump. You don't want that slow guy with JB in the starting lineup. Like if any team goes small, then that lineup gets absolutely roasted. And honestly, like just in terms of lineup construction wise, just theoretically, like Patterson is an ideal fit next to JB because he can step out and hit the 3-pointer very, very effectively. I mean, his shot kind of tailed off, but basically through half the season last year, he was shooting like 43-44%, which is excellent. And if you can have him sort of spacing the floor while JB they play pick and roll in the middle of the floor with Lowry, that's a very effective offense. And unlike last year's effective offense, that's an actual offense that is like, you can actually replicate that success. It's not necessarily based on drawing free throws, or it's not necessarily based on Lou Williams getting super hot. That's just an offense that theoretically works, and it is would be very difficult to defend. So I hope they do start Patterson, man.
And to your point about like mixing lineups thing, last year it was a bad idea. Don't get me, it was terrible. But last year at least you could do it because you had Lou Williams, who is a pretty good one-on-one player, and you had Vasquez coming off the bench, who's a good ball handler, experienced. Both guys were experienced, and you could kind of get away with it. But next year, you kind of can't, because you look at the bench, and you're going to have Terrence Ross coming off of it, along with DeLon Wright and Corey Joseph. Like that's not going to be enough offensive punch on the floor to get you through like stretches, like the second quarter stretch or the third quarter stretch. It's just not enough. So I think that option of like doing hockey lineup changes just goes away for Dwayne Casey, just based on who they lost and who they gained.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like realistically, in terms of actual important minutes, there should at least be one of DeRozan or Lowry out there at all times. And if those guys need to sit, then you can at least have Jonas out there and you can play through the post.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's no need to play the all bench unit because this bench is not built to like last year's bench where it could be its own entity, like you're saying. Like it's not. We don't have enough individual players who can create their offense. A lot of last year's bench was just like, well, Lou Williams is really hot. He's going to jack up 5-6 shots, in a quarter, and it's going to work because he's going to hit like 3 3-pointers and draw 2 fouls, and that's all you need from the second unit. Yeah. But there's nobody in the second unit right now that could do something like that. So.
Well, there's Terrence Ross. So before we talk about Terrence Ross, we're trying to introduce our brand new segment on the podcast.
Let's take a moment to shit on Terrence Ross.
All right, Q, Will, let's go. Let's do this. Terrence Ross, the key to the second unit.
Yeah. So that's not gonna work. I mean, I heard like either last podcast or 2 podcasts ago when you guys were talking about Dwayne Casey's comments about how he envisions Terrence Ross sort of stepping into that Lou Williams role. Terrence Ross cannot step into that Lou Williams role. Terrence Ross is still very much a player that he needs everything set up for him. And in the second unit, I really am afraid of how much his production will tail off because there's not going to be like when he plays with DeRozan and Lowry, he is the third threat on the wing, right? So he's going to be left open and stuff like that, and he can catch spot up 3-pointers and all sorts of stuff. But with the second unit, there's not as much of that, and he really doesn't have enough of a handle and off the dribble game to break down somebody. Like his move is pull up long 2, which is not a good move, or like that stupid floater, which he launches because he's terrified of contact. Like he doesn't draw fouls. And if you shoot a lot of long jump shots and you don't hit them, then you'll get a lot of scenarios like last year where you just have long transition opportunities to defend. My point is, Terrence Ross in the second unit, it worries me a ton, and it's not necessarily a great fit. And so I'm really hoping that either A, he develops his game, which, I mean, I don't know about you, but I haven't really seen too much development out of Terrence Ross's game in his, 3 years here, or B, you have
well, I got to stop you there. I think we've sufficiently completed this new segment. I think it's enough.
When he does something shitty, this segment will really fly.
Yeah, okay.
He literally hasn't done anything. He's just been recovering from ankle surgery. So.
Yeah. All right, so with that, we'll take a break and come back with a couple more topics. All right, welcome to part 2 of the Rapcast. Will's here, and we're going to talk about jerseys. The Raptors released their jerseys. There was a leak a while back, and that leak turned out to be true, and it's official. The Raptors have a new jersey. It's on the Raptors Republic website. You can check it out. You got the home. You got the road. It's white and red. No black. Couldn't find a black. Oh, there is a black. Sorry. Away alternate. There you go. And there's also a Drake-themed jersey, which is black and gold. So thoughts on the jerseys, Will?
I heard a lot of people complaining about them. I think they look great. I like the design of it. It's like, I mean, if you look at the new jerseys that were released this year, like you got Atlanta who released those like super weird shiny jerseys. Then you got the Clippers who released that super horrible, ugly MS Word sort of logo thing that just looks really bad. I don't know. In comparison to those ones, Raptors jersey looks really good to me. I mean, I like the schemes that they're going with. The home and away ones are pretty straightforward, pretty simple. They don't actually look super different. I like that they kept those 2 slashes under the armpits. I mean, that's been a constant throughout all of their jerseys, so it's nice that they kept it. And I mean, as much as the OVO jersey alternate looks hilarious to some, NBA players are gonna really, really love wearing those jerseys. And I think a lot of people in Toronto are really going to love those jerseys because OVO is a brand that is absolutely massive. And Drake is hugely popular. And when they see Raptors players wearing those jerseys, they're going to be immensely jealous.
Yeah, so I'm fine with the colors. I don't care. That's fine. I'm glad to see that the purple isn't officially back. But at the same time, it was kind of sad that they're not going to do a retro thing. Maybe they might still do a retro purple.
Of course they will. Yeah. As long as they can sell merchandise, they'll do it. So they'll definitely do at least 1 or 2 like flashback nights and stuff.
Yeah. So my thing with the jersey is that it's too plain. Like I like simplicity, but I just don't. I thought they were just too plain. There's no like real logo on the front, or it's just Raptors written in like some simple font. It's something you could do quite easily. Like this is like an intern design jersey, not something very sophisticated or eye-popping. It's simple. The reason you like it, Will, is because it's fairly simple. They've kept it simple colors and simple numbers. It's not eye-catching. The only eye-catching part about this is really the OVO thing, the black and gold, which is a little bit more unique, and that's why it kind of pops up. Other than that, it sounds kind of plain. I was expecting a bit more, but what I do like is that they've hidden the hideous Raptors logo off of the actual jersey, which I think is a big positive. It's visible on the shorts, but not on the actual jersey. So I think that's a positive.
They're making way for ads to eventually appear on these jerseys.
Yeah, I think that started with them moving the NBA logo to the back of the jersey a while back. I think that was a start of ads. You got a problem with ads?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of like that American sports is like the only place where ads don't appear on the shirts and stuff. You know, like the most prominent example is like in soccer, right? Like some of the jerseys look good, you know, but some of the like Chelsea's jersey looks good, right? Even though it has got an ad on it, but like once you get to like West Ham and stuff like that, like with their giant betting ads and stuff, it looks awkward. I really don't want to wear it. So I mean, I'd prefer that if the NBA would keep ads off their shirts, but I mean, it seems very much like they're going to move eventually to putting ads there because it's free money for them.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? I kind of am used to ads on jerseys, so it's not going to bother me too much. As Andrew said last week, I'm not really a big jersey wearer, but it all depends on the sponsor, right? I mean, if you got a cool sponsor, like Samsung's a pretty cool sponsor, that doesn't look too bad. It kind of fits in. But if you got like, you know, Atletico Madrid, Azerbaijan, the land of fire, that looks
awkward.
That looks a little awkward, and the Bet 888 or whatever, like that looks kind of weird. But if you got a cool sponsor, man, I wouldn't mind it. Like look at the BMO jerseys for TFC. Like it kind of blends in almost.
That's true. Yeah. You need like a very simple thing. Like as long as if you have stripes on your shirt, like UV or like, you know, Atletico, like then it starts to look kind of awkward. Like even Barca's jerseys look awkward.
Yeah. I think Barca's the one club that has never really had ads. I think they had Qatar Airways finally, but for the longest time they were plain. That was what's unique about them. And then they went to UNICEF, and finally they got like ads straight up. It's too much money to pass up.
Of course.
Yeah.
And the NBA will eventually move that way. But yeah, I mean, with the shorts themselves, I mean, the one critique I saw people saying was that it doesn't have the word Toronto on it. It has TO kind of along the shorts, but it's not very noticeable.
Yeah. I think that also might be them trying to appeal to the entire Canada, so not make it too Toronto specific by putting Toronto on there. Because people outside of Toronto generally don't like Toronto too much, so you kind of disassociate that for marketing reasons and kind of sell the brand and not the city.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man, it's a place here in Toronto. Yeah. You should be proud of it.
All right, so speaking of playing not in Toronto, players playing international basketball. So there was a Doug bomb this week. That's the Woj bomb, but by Doug Smith.
That's right.
Yeah, and he broke the news that a bunch of Raptors might be playing international ball. Louis Scola, Corey Joseph, Jonas Valanciunas, and DeMar DeRozan might actually he will join the Team USA basketball camp later this summer. So a bunch of guys playing international ball. Louis Scola is the one that caught my eye. He's been, and I posted about this, he's been playing international ball pretty much every single season that he's been in the league, and sometimes in multiple tournaments. And he's apparently going to be playing again for Argentina. Man, if there's one guy that I thought might need a rest or just before a long NBA season where he's kind of scheduled to at least play 20, 22 minutes, it might be him.
Yeah, I read somewhere that Louis Scola has played the most of all active NBA players, has played the most minutes internationally by far. It's like something like 3,500 minutes, which is like the equivalent of one LeBron season. Like, he's played an equivalent of one LeBron season in his international career, and you posted it, like, he's consistently played from, like, 2001, 2013. I mean, I guess he could use the rest, but, I mean, like, it's Louis Scola. Like, he keeps himself in pretty good shape, and he's not really going to get injured. Like, he's not going to be jumping and then, like, landing awkwardly. Like, he's going to be jumping 10 centimeters into the air and falling right back down, so he'll be fine.
Yeah, and he's played so long that, the experience of playing like that, you just know how to play after a while. Like, if he was like a young guy stretching himself in the summer, you'd be like, yeah, maybe that's not a good idea, but his veteran presence, I mean. And same with JV for that matter. Even though he's a young guy, he's been playing internationally like every single year. Mm-hmm. So I'm not too worried about these guys. For JV, I'm always excited to see him at the international level because that's when he gets more of a ball and you see a different side of him almost. And he's always doing quite well and getting you excited for the season, and that's when Dwayne Casey shuts that shit down.
Yeah, for sure. Lithuania's performed pretty well in the last couple of tournaments. JV's probably their second or third best player. I would say. He's probably either the second or best player. I would say. Yeah. Their coach Jonas Koslauskis gets a lot out of him. He's actually a much better. They're probably their best defender internationally, which is hilarious because he often gets put on to protect the basket, even if they go small in international ball. Whereas here with the Raptors, he's usually pulled for defensive reasons. So, I mean, it's a different game. Granted,
who's their arguably their best player, if not JV?
Well, I mean, 2 seasons ago, Linus Klesa was actually like quite an effective player for them, but I think Klesa's now a little bit too old. He's not going to make the team. Their point guard. I forgot his name. Their point guard is not bad. Calientes, he's all right. He's very good for their team. I think JV's either the second or and Modi Yunus. Modi Yunus will have games where he's just like he's hitting threes from outside and then he's in the post and he's doing flip shots and he's passing. But I mean, I think consistently Jonas is probably number 1 or number 2 for that team. He's just not necessarily the number 1 option.
Yeah. All right, so there's also DeMar DeRozan playing. Corey Joseph might be playing, so that's good. So no worries there. I like it, man. Let them play in the summer and keep them fresh. I think it's probably more valuable in terms of like playing competitive basketball than the horrendously long NBA preseason. At least you actually play some real games here, whereas the preseason is just too bloody long, and you got to sit through a month of that again. So prior to that, you get this tournament in here. It's good. I think overall it's good to get it's a good prep for the players heading into the new season.
Yeah, for sure. And for like someone like Corey Joseph, it's more good press for him, right? Because it's gonna be an important tournament coming for Canada. They could have a chance at securing an Olympic spot or a spot in the 2016 Olympics. So yeah, if he performs well, then he'll have all this positive press coming into the season. And I mean, he's Canadian, so he's gonna get it anyway. But It'd be nice if he can carry some of that good vibe to Toronto and for the Raptors.
All right. So finally, the Raptors did make a signing. It's an off-season signing. It's one of those partially guaranteed deals. They signed guard Shannon Scott to a deal, much like they have somebody else later. Who else they signed earlier in the month? Like Alex Toupane. That's right. Alex Toupane.
Yeah. What's that? The Kaiser.
Yeah, they signed a bunch of guys. So these are all essentially training camp bodies to help facilitate a proper match. That's all it is. Anything else you want to add here, Will? Other than that this is just fodder for training camp.
Yeah, this is probably nothing. Maybe they want him to play in a D-League. They might want to get an extended look at him. I'm not entirely sure why they would. He's 22. Doesn't really rate that great of a prospect. His last season in the NCAA, he shot 28% from deep. Isn't that big either, so I have no idea. And there's absolutely no chance he makes the team. The Raptors already have 3 point guards, in Lowry and Corey Joseph and DeLon Wright, so... Yeah.
And I think, as you mentioned, this might just be stocking the D-League team, the Raptors 905. So, great signing for the Raptors 905, Shannon Scott.
Congratulations, Shannon.
Yeah. Welcome to Mississauga.
You're gonna love it. There's the Maryland Monroe Towers, and then there's not too much else.
There's Palladium.
Sure. I feel like Bruno and Bebe would love to go to that Palladium.
Dude, I used to work there. I worked there for 2 years.
You used to work at Palladium?
It was awesome. 2 years I worked there. And just played video games. I was amazing at Tekken. Just unstoppable.
And that was your job?
Yeah, that was my job. My job was to help customers and stuff, but really that became almost a part-time thing there. The main thing was just mastering Tekken.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. So I think that has summed up this podcast. And thanks, Will, for coming on in the dead of summer and providing some hashtag content. And I don't know. That's about it. Listener, thanks for listening. And we'll see you again next week when we'll have a special guest, perhaps, on the
very
podcast.
Special guest.
Yeah, very special guest. So I probably shouldn't say that because he might cancel. But hey, next week, Hopefully. Special guest. All right, guys, next week.